What's up, guys? Big Papa Drock back with another Godforge video. Yes, guys, we are back in Godforge, and as you can see on the screen, we are not alone. I have brought Chosen in to talk about some of your burning questions, so say a big hello to Chosen. Chosen, how are you, man? Good to see you.
What's up, man? Wild times. Grinding Godforge Alpha, trying to kind of play through and see how that's going and interact with the community. So with that happening this week, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, dude, this was a big milestone for you guys. The alpha, if you guys didn't know watching, just released for Godforge. I did a video on it the other day, giving my first impressions. There's been tons of content among some of us raid content creators and the community. Looking forward to this game for a long time. And you guys have not been shy in the comments of my video to ask lots of different questions. I also made a YouTube post asking you guys what kind of things you wanted me to ask Chosen, because I think the biggest thing when you're on the outside, you're not one of the devs, is you don't really know what's coming next. You know, this is an alpha build. I would imagine there's still a decent amount of work to be done on the game, and so that's really what the goal of today's video is figure out kind of where you guys are at, Chosen, answer some of these questions, and just get a better timeline or better idea for the viewers of kind of what comes next, because certainly, like I said, I think this is one of the most anticipated games from anyone in the raid community in quite some time.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting, and I want to make sure I lead off by thanking everybody because I've been in the gaming industry for a very long time. I've been a part of many different genres and alphas and betas, and us having like tens of thousands of people that are super excited to jump in and test things and give us feedback is just invaluable, and it's so amazing. So I make sure I let everybody know that we are very appreciative and we know how special that is. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really cool to see the response, especially for an alpha like this. So let's just jump right in, which I think is probably the #1 comment that I saw on my video. Also, one of the questions I got from one of my viewers. So Andrew McConnell asked, I'm interested in the comments made regarding the graphics and their feelings on them. It's alpha and some of them are very overly harsh, but what, if anything, are they looking to change/improve for release? And I think without a doubt, this is probably the most consistent comment I got is like, oh, what's going to happen graphically? Is it going to get better? Is it kind of what it is? So would love to shed some light on that for everyone.
Yeah, for sure. So right now, with it being the first alpha iteration, I mean, if you go back and look at almost any game that has come out over the years, and you look at their very first alpha that they ever released to the public, I would say like 9 times out of 10, it looks way worse than what ended up going live. So I actually agree with everybody that right now it's not good enough to release for sure. So that feedback is valid, but I would say when you see the finished product, we'll have time to bring the game to life and hit those polish phases. Right now, basically everything you see in the game is like placeholder. It's being thrown together so that we can get an alpha out as soon as possible to at least test that the game works mechanically and start finding out these bugs. Like, I don't know if you have the game open right now on your end.
I do, yeah.
If you go to, but like if you look at the Bastion, at the main screen, it's just a 2D placeholder asset. It's not like the Godforge in the middle, smoldering with energy and shooting up to the sky. Like the whole game hasn't come to life yet and doesn't look like a polished product that you would expect to play because we're just testing things right now. So I 100% agree, and it's going to get better. So basically, we only have one thing as of right now that you can judge us based on a finished product, and that would be our trailer. Go watch the Godforge trailer. That's a finished product. So that's kind of like the quality you could expect to come from us when things are finished. Like if you would have saw our trailer, 3 days in, 10 days in, 2 weeks in, before it was finished and ready to be shipped, you'd have been like, what the hell? I saw cinematics better than this back in 1997. Like, are you kidding me? But when you see the finished product, the reaction was like, oh, damn, this trailer is sick. And we're hoping when Godforge is a finished product and it's actually launching, that it's going to look a lot more polished. The lighting will be proper. The different screens that you click on won't be placeholders. They'll have all sorts of VFX and 3D assets that are coming to life, and it'll feel a lot more like a polished game.
Got it. Okay, so that's really good. I think context. One of the things I said in my video was it's an alpha, so I would imagine there's probably a lot more to do. But that's cool to hear. And funny enough, like looking at the main screen, I actually didn't realize this wasn't a finished asset. I thought this is what it was going to be. So I didn't realize. And like the one thing I said in my video was I actually really like the artwork. I think all of the 2D based artwork that I've seen is really good. And I also said that I like the character design. So cool to hear that that it's only going to get better from here and that it is not a finished product. Which again, I think, you know, people assume, but you just never know how much improvement is going to come. So I think people are very excited to see that, certainly myself included. So cool to hear that there's a lot more to do in that area and improvements to be made, which is nice.
And I also want to say, like, one of the cool things about Fateless is, you know, we have our finger on the pulse of gamers. Like, I was watching an interview, you know, somewhere on, like, you know, one of these mainstream networks, you know, MSNBC or whatever, and they were interviewing like the CEO for Grand Theft Auto because they have like GTA 6 coming out.
Yeah.
And they asked him something about the game, and the CEO was like, I don't know. I don't play Grand Theft Auto. Like, I'm just here to make money and run the business. And that's what's cool about Fateless is, like, you know, all the way at the top, the people like Hell Hades, they see your comments, and he knows what the expectation is. And if there is a certain standard that we aren't hitting, like if we're getting close to launch and we're not hitting the standard that people expect, I guarantee you that you know, the founders will know that, and they will make sure they do what it takes to get it done. Like, has Hell Hades ever released something that was trash? Like, you know,
Yeah.
when you look at, you know, the channel and the website and the tools and the optimizers, like he'll do what it takes to get it done. And I have faith in the founders of Fateless for sure.
I think that's, you know, I'm glad you mentioned that because I think for me personally, that's been a big part of why I am excited for this game. Um, you know, not to make it a Raid Shadow Legends video, but I think one of the biggest complaints that people have about playing Raid is they feel like their feedback falls on deaf ears and they feel like things aren't prioritized in terms of improving stuff. And so one of my number one reasons of why I'm excited for Godforge is because of who's in charge. And
That's because it does that.
You know,
Like frankly, it does fall on deaf ears. Like, I mean, I'm a gamer. I'm one of you. I was a streamer and a YouTuber for 15 years, and I learned that. I'm like, there's really no point to give feedback because it doesn't matter. All they're gonna do is give you the canned response of, "Yeah, we're listening. Thanks for the feedback. We hear you." But it never actually goes anywhere. And you know, we're trying to do it the right way. We're trying to be ultra transparent, and we're trying to show people things as soon as possible, and we're trying to listen to all the feedback. And you know, even our founders are active in the discords and
mhm,
trying to really interact with the community. So you know, I definitely want people to be rest assured that your feedback is going to be heard. And you know, we're not, when we don't have a budget of hundreds of millions of dollars, but we
yeah.
are going to do everything we can do to hear your feedback and try to hit as high of a standard as we can.
I think that's really good to know. I am very glad to hear that. I think that is a really good thing. And I you know, I hate to say it, but you're absolutely right. Like a lot of times it does feel like the feedback just isn't listened to in other games. And it is a major frustration, whether you're a content creator or a player. You want to see games improve. You want to see things improve. You want to know that the things that you bring up that are genuine issues as you're playing the game are actually going to be addressed, or if they're not addressed. And I think this is, you know, this wasn't a question, but it's something I've seen kind of in Godforge's team is communication is clearly a priority for you guys. Like you guys communicate about basically everything that you're doing, and that I know as a player is so important, where it's like, okay, yeah, maybe we don't agree with whatever the community is saying, but we're going to over communicate as to why we're doing what we're doing so that people have a better understanding of what our thought process is. So definitely from what I've seen, the communication that you guys do is in a completely different level from like, you know, from Raid. So yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I've got another question here. Some of this you kind of just answered, but I want to try to hit as many of these questions as possible. So Spanglish Sensation says, hi, Drock. I want to know a general question. What do Simon and the team hope to accomplish with this game on release and in the long run? And then in terms of a more specific question, has the team talked about the average in-game time? How important is it to their team to be aware and understand the user experience in terms of time spent in game? How does that relate to their systems and quality of life implementations? I think that's a very fair question because I think every Raid player knows when you're spending 10 hours in game every day, it's very frustrating. So yeah, really curious to hear your thoughts on that, Chosen.
Yeah. So, firstly, in terms of what's the goal for the game, it's definitely a long-term project, and it's something that we want a good soundtrack, we want a good narrative, a good story, we want to develop a cool atmosphere within our game, and we want it to be something that people feel comfortable taking the time to develop a clan and really invest in long term, because we definitely want to support it live ops for many years and really build something big. This isn't like a, oh, we're just hoping to, make a little bit of money and then we're going to stop supporting it and move on to another project. Like, no, we want this to be a big thing for 10 years and really launch the studio of Fate with. So you can definitely look forward to long-term support and constant evolution and constant improvements as we kind of get closer to live ops. And then the second part of the question, I believe, was something about like how cognizant we are of the average time people are spending in terms of the quality of life features to speed things up. We definitely do see that we need a lot of the quality of life features like leveling up food as fast as possible, and like giving people avenues to auto battle so they're able to kind of take advantage of different things. They're going to speed them up. But we will definitely like that's going to be the point of like the alphas and the betas, as we can kind of see the pain points that players are having, and we're going to be jumping on that like a hawk, and we're going to be trying to give people the smoothest experience possible. So I don't know if that answers it in a general sense, or if you have like a
Yeah.
more specific part of that, but we definitely are going to prioritize that.
I think it does, because it gives us an idea that you're cognizant of that being a pain point in, for example, in Raid. Where that's definitely one of the big things that people care about. I guess the follow-up question I'd have, obviously there's a lot of different things you're talking about doing. Is there a general, like, we're in alpha right now. Is there a better idea as of right now as to when this might actually release, or is it still pretty nebulous at the moment?
Yeah, so here's where I insert generic lawyer answer. Uh, I mean, obviously, we all want the game to come out as soon as possible. So there's really no way I can give you anything other than like a canned corporate response.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't say a date, obviously, or anything. So we're gonna run. I think we have like 3 alpha phases planned. Then it's gonna be on to like a polish phase of getting the beta out there. And I can't really tell you a time frame, because number one, we don't want to mess up the release. Like, we don't want to
Yeah.
release a trash game that isn't gonna hit right. So if we have to, we're gonna delay it a little bit to get it right, because we want people to experience a certain standard that we want to live up to. So we take that very seriously, and we want to hit that standard, and we're gonna do whatever it takes. So I can't tell you if it's gonna be 6 months or a year and a half. Hopefully closer to the former, but we'll have to kind of see and play it by ear.
Honestly, I think I wish more game studios did do that. You know what I mean? I think it's tough because you're balancing investors and people that have put their money into something. They obviously want to see their money come back. But at the same time, like, I look at a game like Grand Theft Auto, and we were talking about Rockstar earlier. One of the things that they've done so well is they resist that pressure and they delay things to make sure they get it right. And it's so important, to your point, to get it right when it launches. You can't have every single thing be 100% perfect, because games, like any piece of software, like, they improve over time. But I'm glad to hear that that's the philosophy, where it's like, look, maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's a year, we don't know. But what we do and what we are committed to is making sure that when it does come out, it's good. You know what I mean? And that people are actually excited, and that the game has the things that it needs to be successful. So I'm really encouraged to hear that. That's the kind of philosophy I think every game development studio should have. I just think a lot of times the people with the money are the ones that end up screwing that up, because they require it to come out before it's ready, and then you have a bad launch and you can't really come back. So good to know. Good to know. I've got I love this question. I debated putting this in here, but honestly, for my channel, it's perfect. And frankly, I actually think it is kind of fair based on things in the genre. So I'm sure
I already know. You said your channel. I already know it's going to be something like something about like who's going to be the hottest hero, or something like that.
You know me too well, bro. Clearly watching my content here. Clearly, you're absolutely right. So Epic Warrior asks them if they can add more goon-worthy characters. And like, look, listen. This is actually a fair question in this genre, because if you think about Raid, and if you think about games like Etheria and other games in the genre, there is, I mean, obviously the target audience for these games is overwhelmingly male. And there are a lot of very sexy characters in gacha games and anime games, whether it's Wuthering Heights, whether it's Etheria, whether it's Raid, whatever. So I guess that's a question. Is there a plan to put more goon-worthy heroes into the game?
I mean, hey, I get it. I'm a red-blooded male as well. I would love to have some awesome, smoking hot character models in the game, and we definitely will have that for sure. But we want like the beasts and the creatures, and
Hmm.
and we want to take advantage of all the different heroes we can design and all the different body types. So, to answer the question, 100%, we're gonna have some super attractive models in there, but we're also gonna have all sorts of a plethora of different ones. And we're not going to be one of these like Eastern games where it's just like 140 smoking hot women or something. But they will be in our game. But we'll have some of the mythologies and the creatures and some of the different heroes and all that as well.
Awesome. Okay, that's a fair answer. I will say Isolde looking pretty good. I've got her on screen right now. I happen to acquire her. I'm certainly not hating the view here, but I do think that is actually fair because there's different styles of games that are out there, and I personally, another thing that I was really looking forward to with Godforge is I am a massive history mythology fan, like that kind of stuff absolutely just piques my interest. And so cool to hear that it's not just going to be focused on let's put as many hot women in the game as we possibly could and ignore other cool mythological characters like Hercules or like Ra, obviously, who's featured in the trailer, who's an Egyptian sun god. So cool, good to know. Had to ask. Love that question, by the way. Too funny. All right, we got another one here. Actually, these two are kind of similar, so I'll read them both. From Dinger, we've got, I'm interested in knowing what the different ways of champion acquisition are going to be. Will there be battle passes, fusions, banners? And Scorchy asks something similar. Like, will they have alternate ways of acquiring champions other than summoning? And then also, what is their plan to balance things such as Raid not addressing stuff like Taurus Marichka or Wixwell changing after communities have voted on them? So I guess the question here is, what are the ways to acquire champions? Are there going to be ways more than just summoning? And how are you guys going to approach balancing this game? Like, do you have a philosophy around that yet?
Yeah, so there's a lot there, but I'll try to kind of answer it piecemeal and let me know if I'm missing anything. But in terms of summoning, there will 100% be summoning. We want to really have that part of the genre where you're excited to rip some shards and talk about with your clan and your friends about who you got compared to who they got. That's why we want a big roster pool so that people can experience having different teams and that collaboration of building different heroes and all that. So we are actually still in the process of really ironing out exactly how we want the summoning to be. So, look forward to, I'm sure Simon or Hell Hades will have a video coming out on the main channels talking about when we actually iron out the exact odds and the ways we're going to do it. There's multiple different ways to handle summoning. There's like the way that Raid does it, or there's like some of these games will have banners like AFK Journey, like they'll have like a weekly banner where you can pull for a certain hero that has the highest odds and stuff. There's many different ways to do it, but 100% will have kind of like a lot of the normal summoning structures that you're used to, and we're going to try to make it as fun as possible. Then I think they were talking about balance changes. We like in terms of, I know a lot of your viewers are from Raid. We want to do more balancing than Raid does. I remember from my days covering Raid, it was like it felt like it was twice a year that they balanced some heroes.
So true.
We definitely want to do it more than what Raid does. If you're looking for something to compare to. So like we're already talking as a team all day. Like earlier this morning before meeting up with you, we're in the Discord as a team talking about okay, who's really crushing the alpha, what heroes are being used to have the strongest teams, what heroes are being neglected, and we're going to be constantly. I mean, we're a team of gamers, and we want all the heroes to at least have a purpose in the game. So we're going to be constantly adjusting and doing it pretty often, hopefully.
Thank God, dude. Honestly, that's probably one of my absolute biggest pet peeves with Raid is that it feels like in the last couple years, especially, whereas earlier in the game's existence, there was a little more balancing done. It feels like now at this point, there's just basically none. Like there's a couple champions done positively, maybe every other month or two, which is hilarious in a game of over like 900,000 champions, just not enough. And the other big thing is there's almost never substantive nerfs to things that actually need serious balance help. And to Scorchy's point, like Taurus Marichka, which I still think in some ways has like broken components. So I'm glad to hear that the philosophy here is at least like, look, we're gonna
gone for like 2 years now. Is Taurus Marichka still the meta? Is it
It's
really?
it's I mean, it's not the full meta the way that it was. It's changed because of characters being introduced. And I think this is again kind of this leads into my next question where Raid very much has an ethos of create the problem, sell the solution. Which I am obviously not a fan of because I think it's not good game design and it's obviously predicated on intense monetization as opposed to fixing stuff and then still allowing people to, you know, acquire champions or heroes if they so choose using monetization aspects. But it's a major part of their game design that I really, really dislike. And so it leads into my next question, which is, you know, this is coming from Jeff's. I'd like to know their plans regarding in-app purchases. I understand it is a game for profit, but are they going to be ridiculous like Raid or more friendly to the players? And I do think that's an extremely fair question because obviously you guys as a business have to make money for your investors. You have to recoup the cost to build this game. And I think I saw on Ash's channel that the budget so far was like 14 million. I don't know if that's actually true or what the actual raise has been. But I am very curious if that is something that you guys have given a lot of thought to as of yet of like, yes, we have to monetize, we have to recoup, you know, resources, but are we going to be, I mean, I think Raid is known widely in the industry as being the most monetized, penalizing game for players. So curious where you guys land on that if you've even made that decision yet.
Yeah, you know, we're looking to set a new standard compared to Raid. Like I think Raid has when you log in 12 pop-ups on login. We want to hit like 15, 16 pop-ups when you log in, and really set a new industry standard there.
Yeah, man, that's what we need, bro. Chosen, we need more pop-up. I want to literally not be able to play the game because of how many pop-ups are popping up in my face. And I swear to God, if you guys don't get at least a minimum of 15 to 16 pop-ups on login, then I'm out, bro. I'm out.
I agree, but no, it's always a hot topic. You know, the monetization strategies and all of that. That's above my pay grade. You know, I work in game design mainly, but like obviously, our goal just overarching is we want to do things the right way. We want to be transparent, and you know, obviously, there's going to be packs in the game. We're not gonna, you know, we're not gonna lie to you and say like, no, we're never gonna make any money because like Ash's thumbnail, I saw it too. You know, 14 million spent on the game, but yeah, you know, when you're spending many millions of dollars to hit the standard that people expect, and the game is free. It doesn't take rocket science to understand that you have to have packs and you have to make money somehow. But
Yeah.
what we're hoping to do is kind of something similar to like what Path of Exile did when they came out, is that people wanted to support the game because of what they were giving the players, because of how transparent they were, and because they were kind of an up and coming studio building a great product that they're going to support for a long time. We're hoping that people, you know, aren't compelled to spend, but they want to spend whatever they can to support us. And if not, that's totally cool because free to play players are extremely valuable. They watch YouTube videos, they recommend your game by word of mouth, they play the game contributing to your active player base. So free to play players are just as valuable as spenders. So what I would say is if somebody doesn't want to play, or doesn't want to pay anything, we want them to still enjoy the game and we want them to feel a part of the community. And if somebody wants to spend to maybe progress a little bit faster or whatever that entails, great. And we're going to be super appreciative of that.
Oh, that's a really interesting design choice then. That's kind of cool to hear because I do think, again, especially in the last 2 to 3 years, that Raid does not care about free-to-play players really at all. And like, again, hurts me to say this, but all I can do is look at their design decisions and look at the power creep that's coming to the game, and it's very clear that there's an emphasis placed on spenders. And what I will say in their defense is I actually understand that because spenders are the ones that keep the lights on, that keep the game going. But I also think that there's hopefully a happy medium. So cool to hear that you guys actually do value free-to-play players and want them in the game and you know, don't want the game to be a giant, necessarily massive pay-to-win fest in the same kind of vein as Raid, because God knows it's very controversial.
I have a funny story about that. Like, you know how, you know, they were always saying like, hey, you know, to make changes, it takes months. Like we might create bugs. We gotta take our time. Dude, I remember back when I was a creator for Raid, I found a way, or like somehow I found a way. So, I mean, one of my Discord friends told me or something. There was a way to find out like through some bug by like submitting a ticket and then going to the end of the ticket URL on like the email they send you or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and it had a number, and that number in the URL was how much money you had spent.
Yeah, I remember this.
And I did a YouTube video showing people how to do this. And bro, I've never seen a studio patch something so fast. It was like 28 minutes after my video was out. Like, oh, that doesn't work anymore.
See, and this is, you're absolutely right. This is also the other thing, again, that bothers me about Raid. It's why I'm so excited for this game. It's why I wanted to succeed. I'm not an investor in Godforge, but I wanted to do well because, one, I think it doing well improves Raid, which, as someone who's a Raid content creator, I have a vested interest in that. But also it being a fun game to play that just brings hopefully something new to the genre, or at the very least, a better balance of actual feedback and fixing things. But like, it's hilarious. You talk about this. You made a video on this. 28 minutes later, it's fixed. Yet other stuff that they acknowledge are issues in Raid take forever to fix. And so, you talked about balancing earlier. Now that you've been on the game design of things, and I have some game design questions for you too, for Godforge specifically, but now that you've been on that side of things, does that kind of open your eyes as to what is actually required to fix some of the stuff that people do have as complaints for a game like Raid, where, we just had a dev feedback meeting and they're talking about like, oh, we're really cautious, it takes us time, this and that. But like the thought process for me is like, I was in software development for 3 years, on the sales side, granted, not on the actual dev side, but I'm also like, I have a pretty good idea of what takes time to fix versus what doesn't. And sometimes it does feel like things that could be easy fixes are like, they just drag out for months and months and months. So I'm curious, like, how long does it take to fix some of these things? Like, you have this alpha going on right now. How long does it take to fix some of the bugs that you see coming up here, or even just changing character, like balancing type stuff?
Yeah, so the balancing stuff is usually a lot easier if it's something like going in and adjusting somebody's multiplier because they're just way too weak and they're not doing enough damage. We can adjust like their like the numbers on a spreadsheet pretty easily, like in terms of the stats and the multipliers and how hard an ability is going to hit, or the survivability and all that of a hero. Some of the stuff that is going to be a little bit more complicated and honestly above my pay grade is some of the development type stuff, like like there's lag in between the waves and there's a black screen that pops up for 5 seconds. That kind of stuff isn't the stuff that I work on. I typically stay on the hero side of things. So that stuff would be more complicated, and you would need to have like one of our like hard coding Unity devs on for that. I do work in Unity, but mainly on like the hero implementation of their abilities and their stats and all of that side of things. So there is a sliding scale of what is more complicated or less complicated, but that's why I'm hoping we should be able to balance a little bit more often, because what I can see in terms of the way we set up the project, it should be a little bit more reasonable to do that kind of stuff. But that's why we have 3 alpha waves, and we have a pretty solid team in terms of fixing bugs. So things should get more smooth and a lot more optimized pretty quickly with the team that we have.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense, and I think that covers a lot of that. Speaking of game design, so you mentioned you're more on the hero side. We do have a couple questions about game design, and you and I talked a little bit about this offline, but Zaitu asks, not having HP bars above the characters feels strange. What made them make this decision? Also, the character icons cover the character models. Are they looking at this? So I guess there's like questions around the general UI of like kind of where you're at right now for battles. And just so you know, Chosen, I'm showing a battle on screen at the moment. Is this finalized? Like, is the battle system UI going to change based on feedback? Kind of would love to know about that too. What the plans are for this.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of the stuff you see in the game is going to get a repolish or things added to it or be changed a lot. Like, we're still talking about that main battle UI. I can't see your screen, but you said you're in a battle. But
I am.
Like, up on the top right, it's supposed to show like damage meters and healing meters, and it's supposed to give you like live feedback while you're playing, so you can see like, oh geez, my Heimdall is really slapping. He's doing a lot of damage, and you'll have like meters to show you that. And then we're also talking about, where do we want this turn racetrack to be? Do we want it on the left? Do we want it to be on the bottom, scrolling from left to right, because humans read left to right? So maybe that might be a little bit more intuitive. And they talked about HP bars. I think it does show the HP bar on the UI, so I'm kind of confused.
Yeah, I was reading this and I was like, the HP bar looks to be. I guess he was just saying. Oh, I think he meant like maybe the HP bar above, but no, but it does show the HP bar above the character. Oh, you know what? I think he meant on your own team, because on your own team it doesn't show the HP bar above the character, it just shows it on the icon. So for example, on the icon itself. So I mean, all of that, it sounds like, is subject to change based off of feedback, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if it's something that we hear, you know, many times in the community, we'll definitely address it. And that UI, that main battle screen, is definitely going to be kind of redone, repolished, rehashed after some of these alpha phases, and we see what people like and what they don't like, and we're able to add more things to the game, like the damage meters and all that we want in there. So 100%, it's not going to look like that when the game comes out.
Yeah, and again, like this makes sense. This is why when I was doing my kind of first look, you know, I focused more on kind of some of the small quality of life things that I saw. So for example, one of the things that I really liked already, again, this is an alpha, so, you know, still a lot of time to develop stuff. But one of the things that I really liked that gave me a hint of just attention to detail here is, I mentioned in my video, I love that the numbers that appear on screen, or like the turn meter increase, or like the log of what's happening, takes time to disappear. Like one of the things in Raid is you can't see what the hell's going on anymore. It's just very confusing in battle. There's no combat log of any sort, and the numbers and the status effects and stuff like that just disappear immediately. Like you can't catch it, which makes it hard for a content creation purpose, but also just makes it hard to play the game. And so that was one of the things I noticed right away with Godforge, is like the numbers don't just disappear right away. They float up. They're a little bit easier to read. I have a better idea of what's happening. So it was nice to see that kind of attention to detail at this stage, where it's like, yeah, we know that that's a problem from Raid, from our time playing it. We want to make sure we do a better job. So that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, even that still isn't polished yet, but you know, it's still like the text is a little bit too big. It takes up everything. It's not kind of appearing in the right spot. But yeah, we definitely want people to be able to see what's going on. And it would be amazing if we could have something like a log that you could have open, where it shows like Heimdall hit this hero for 11,287 damage. Heimdall placed defense down on, like it would be great if we had like a log where you could see what's going on.
I'd love that. I'd love that. Is that something you guys are talking about and considering?
Yeah, it's something that comes up in our meetings, and you know, from a development standpoint, it'll just, you know, kind of depend if we can still make the game run smooth, or you know, again, some of the stuff's above my pay grade. Yeah, but I would love to have something like that. Like if I were in a meeting, I would be asking, you know, how realistic it is for us to pull this off by launch and have something like that in there. But
yeah,
it's a development question that would be above me focusing on heroes.
Cool to hear that you're talking about it though. Like it sounds like you guys, like, you know, talk about a lot of the different things that people might want to see. And then it's just a matter of what is possible in a certain time frame. And I think, again, like, you know, kind of like we talked about earlier, nothing, software is never done. You're always improving stuff. So you're building a constant backlog of what you want to work on. Like, hey, these are the launch things. This is the stuff we think we need for when the game comes out to make it really fun and enjoyable and people want to play it. And then we can add these features as we go along, once we have more time, once we have, you know, potentially more revenue, things of that nature. So yeah, cool to hear that stuff at least is getting discussed at this stage. Because, you know, you talk about combat log. I'd love that. I'd love that.
Yeah, I would too. And the hard part is, you know, they call it feature creep. It's like, it's like, you know, as a team, you know, we're all gamers and we have 100, you know, ideas of cool stuff we would want in the game. Well, if we did all of that, you know, we need another 5 years of development. So you know, it comes down to like kind of hitting the most crucial things, because we don't want people to have to wait till 2030 to play our game. So it's like, how do we hit the most important things in the most realistic fashion, where we can kind of hit that sweet spot where the game is good but also comes out in a reasonable time frame?
Yeah, it's you know, in software development we call it minimum viable product. You know what I mean? Like you want to have MVP for those of you that are not in the software world. That's what you refer to as a minimum viable product. What's the thing we can put out that covers what we need it to cover? And I would say a game probably is a little bit more than a minimum viable product, you know, in the business sense. Like it's not that lean, right? There's a lot of depth here. And that was something I noticed even just in the time that I played the other day. Is there's already a lot of systems, and granted some things are locked, I can't see them yet, but this idea of imprints and extracting and kind of how that works and how that changes weapons. It reminded me a little bit of Diablo in some ways, of like coding an aspect onto a weapon that changes what it does. So I really enjoyed seeing that kind of depth.
Who are you talking to right now?
Yeah, I know. I'm talking to someone, you know, funny enough, like, this came up, I think, in our, you know, Life After Raid convo, but you know, the first time you came into my channel, I was playing Diablo, I'm pretty sure. This was a while back. This was like a couple years back now. So, and then I know you're a big Diablo guy as well. So it's kind of cool to see some of those things that I really like about other games that have been brought in here as well. One of the things, this isn't like a question.
You're getting your wires. You're getting your wires crossed. The first time I came to your stream, you were playing Reinhardt in Overwatch.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
That's right.
And we talked about playing Diablo.
There we go. Okay, you're right. I was playing Overwatch. Completely forgot that. 100% correct. But we did talk about Diablo. We were going to play it together, and then it never happened because I think I never followed up. but we did talk about it.
And it took 3 years.
Yeah, we were supposed to collab. You were the first person to offer collab with me, and then yeah, sure enough, 3 years later, we did end up collabing. But again, that was on me of not following up to make it happen. But you were the first creator that ever offered to do a collab with me, which I thought was super, super cool. But there's a little bit of lore for you guys. If you didn't see my Life After Raid video chosen, you should definitely check it out. Maybe I'll link it in the description down below. But
2021 Drock lore.
Yeah, the Drock before he was, Drock, I guess, when he was still baby Drock. But speaking of Diablo, so there's another question here that I thought was kind of cool. And again, this, God knows if this is even something you guys have thought about, but Alex Axe asks, will there be any systems of gear trading like in Diablo 2? So that isn't something that I have personally, certainly not in Raid, but it's one of those things that you wish you could do, at least with champions or loaning champions out or gear or stuff like that. Is that something you guys have talked about, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, 100%. It's I know it's something that Hell Hades himself really likes, is players being able to interact with each other and have these different systems in place. It's really tough, just to be frank with you. It's tough to introduce something like that in this genre. Yeah. And not kind of like ruin the experience and ruin the progression and how it feels. So we are discussing it though. We're thinking like, can we allow trading, but just like limit it behind a certain resource that you get, as you're playing, and you just kind of get lucky and find it in dungeons, and then that allows you to go and trade an item with a clan mate. Do we open it? Like, there's a lot that goes into that conversation. I mean, that would warrant like a dedicated video to talk about everything that goes into that.
Yeah.
So it's definitely in our minds. Whether it's something we can pull off, during live ops or anything like that. I like, will something like that be in for launch? I would lean towards probably not.
Yeah.
But we would definitely love to do it if we can pull it off in a capacity where it keeps the integrity of the economy and the overall game.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's like genuinely an economy issue where that can screw everything up if it's implemented poorly. And I think back to, I believe it was Diablo 3 when it launched, and it had like a real gold marketplace and real auction house, and it was widely negatively received, and they ended up, I think, changing it. And so yeah, totally get that. I would be also surprised if that made it in for launch. For sure.
I was yeah, because like the thing is, in a perfect world where no one abuses anything and there's no botting or anything like that, the Diablo 3 auction house would be amazing.
It would be.
We don't live in a perfect world. And what actually happened in practice was we have all these botting operations that flood the market with millions of items.
Yep.
To the point where if you're a regular player, you're better off spending 5 cents than farming for 36 hours.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, now I might as well spend 5 cents and buy my maxed out gear. There's no point to progress anything or play. Yeah. So yeah, it's a really tough subject to get that right, but we would love to if we can.
Yeah, that makes sense. It ruins the game experience for sure, and it completely destroys the dev experience. So there's a reason why they took it out of that. And certainly if you play games like WoW, you've seen, Blizzard having to crack down on gold farmers and people selling gold and all this other kind of stuff that happens. So that makes a ton of sense. But there was one last question that I had here on the sheet, and then I'll think if there's anything else I want to ask. But Green Zone asks, what will the storage and filter for equipment and champions be like? Will I have to spend 1 billion silver to get 10 extra champion slots? I think this speaks more to just like, again, general design ethos, because everything in Raid is extremely expensive. Like, have you guys given considerations to how you're going to give people more champion room in their heroes collection, or what are you thinking?
Well, in our game, you'll be spending gold to purchase.
There you go.
Space. So
there you go.
It'll be a little bit different here. But like as of right now, the plan is in our game that you'll be able to so I guess the comp to Raid would be if you could crunch a hero into a chicken.
Yeah.
So can you do that in Raid? Is that a thing?
Well, you can't make a hero into a chicken specifically. Of course, you can use a hero to feed, which you know, but you can't turn them into a chicken to save gear space. So I think is that or save inventory space. Is that kind of what you're
Because
thinking?
chicken and raid does not take up hero space, if I remember right.
That's right.
Correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Yeah, so like if you could crunch, let's say you summon a rare you don't care about, like crossbowman or whatever. In our game, you'd be able to take crossbowman and turn him into a 3-star chicken.
Mm, okay. Yeah. You know what's hilarious? I've literally never thought of that as being a thing in Raid. This just gives you an idea of me not thinking about that kind of stuff. Why the hell haven't they done that? Like, that's such a simple solution.
Well, the obvious answer is because they want your hero roster full. So
that's right. They want you monetized, baby. Now we're using the big brain plays here. But so cool. So you guys have actually thought of a solution to that problem, which is cool.
Yeah, I don't think you're seeing that system currently in I mean, it depends when this comes out and what alpha build you're on. But we do kind of have something like that planned that we want to test where how often are players utilizing this feature? What ends up being the hero space issues that arise when players have this feature versus when they don't. And so we definitely we don't want anybody to feel like they can't play the game because their hero roster is full and they're screwed and now they got to be inefficient. So we will definitely have systems in place to address that. And I believe in the next alpha phase, you'll probably see something equivalent to a raid comp of being able to crunch a rare into a 3-star chicken.
That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah. So there you go. Gives a really good answer to that. I don't know. I mean, like I played the alpha a little bit. I haven't had a chance to play it more, but I plan on doing it this weekend. But my overall feel was I was very excited because again, like to me, I had a feeling the graphics would improve. I'm sure they will, but like my big thing was, ooh, there's a little bit of attention to detail that I'm seeing here, like just small stuff that I want to see. And again, the people behind the project. So I'm glad that you were able to kind of come in and just give some more, just general overview as to some of these questions. Is there anything else that you've seen comment wise in my video, other people's videos that you think is important to address here that you want players to know, before I let you go? Anything else that occurs that you've seen as kind of a common comment?
I think the main stuff I've seen is the graphics and the lack of polish. And we kind of talked about that, and then maybe like the lack of quality of life features. But that'll be popping up obviously as we add them in, and we kind of talked about what's planned. But yeah, and then obviously everybody's gonna ask about when's the actual release date, and I tried to address. So yeah, I don't know if we missed anything. I guess I would just really encourage people to keep the feedback coming. We don't have an environment at Fateless where it's like a bunch of yes people glazing our bosses. Like if you ask Simon and you ask my bosses, I'm a thorn in their side in our meetings, and I'm like, hey, why is this like this? Like this isn't good enough. I'm hearing this in the community. Can we hit this bar? Is this gonna be something we can fix? So, we have an environment where we're extremely transparent and where we address criticism head on. We don't ban people or hide from it at all. So I'm happy to come on here and address anything you all want to talk about. So just keep the feedback coming. Let us know what's not good, what is good, and what you like, what you don't like, and we're gonna do everything we can to make it happen.
Dude, that's awesome. I'm really stoked to hear that. And again, like I think when it comes to game development, that is every good game development studio has a similar thought process where it's like we value feedback, we value critical feedback, we want to be transparent, we want to communicate, and we're committed to putting forth something that we're proud of and that we're excited to play as well. And again, that has actually built on the things that the community shares. So I'm super stoked. I'm really curious, by the way, guys, if you're still watching, this far into the video, please let me know in the comments down below. If there are any other questions you have, I'm sure you'll be playing the game as well. And obviously Chosen welcomes the feedback, but would love to hear, now that we've had a chance to get some clarification issues on stuff, what your reaction is to Godforge, and whether does this make you more excited to play the game? Does it answer some of the questions that you have or had prior to this from watching other videos? But certainly was very eye-opening, Chosen, and really appreciate you joining, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to kind of chat the game. I'm super stoked, keeping my fingers crossed that things go faster, but at least I know that whenever this does launch, that there really will be a commitment to putting forth something that you guys are proud of and that the community will want to play.
Yeah, that's the goal. And Discord bugged out for like 10 seconds. So if I missed anything super important in the last 10 seconds, forgive me.
Nah, just me yapping about how I'm excited for Godforge to come out, and that's it. You didn't miss anything important, but
I just want to make sure there wasn't some awkward moment where you said a joke and I'm just sitting here like,
yeah, you know, you know, that would have been perfect. But dude, thanks again for coming on. Really appreciate it, guys. Let me know in the comments below all your feedback. And yeah, hopefully we'll get to see more Godforge sooner rather than later. But till then, this has been Big Papa Drock and Chosen, and we are out.